All right, we're going to continue to complete our queue application. So the method that we are going to work on now is to view our content. So let's create a public method that returns void, and we're going to call it view. And what we're going to do is write to the console an opening bracket that the data is going to be within. And then we'll have one for the closing bracket, except this will be right line so that there's a carriage after. And then we'll have a for loop where we are iterating through our queue, my queue, based on its length. And for each iteration, we are writing to the console its content as its indices change. And we'll add a space just to separate the data. All right, and our last step will be to jump over to our main method, and let's create a queue. We'll create an instance called myQueue, and we will set its limit to 5. And so now we can say myQueue and insert some data. I'll put in 100 at first, and then copy and paste and put in some more numbers. The next one we can change that to 10. Then let's say this one is 20. Here will be 30. And right here, let's go ahead and view the data. We're inserting 100, 10, 20, 30, and then we are viewing. But before we run it, let's make sure that we set our project to be the default and Control F5 to execute. All right, and there's our content. 100, 10, 20, 30. And the order matches because we are going to be implementing first in, first out. 100 was the first number that was added, so it's going to be at the front of the queue to our left. And next up would be 10 and 20. So if we were deleting, that's what would go out first, 100. Why don't I go ahead and close this, and I add in a line that peeks to see the front of the queue. So I'll be writing out to the console, the front of the queue is, and we invoke our peek front method. If we run this again, the front of the queue is 100. And that makes sense because that's what we just saw. I'll close this out. And why don't we demonstrate removing an item from the queue? I'll indicate so by writing that out to the console, about to remove an item from the queue. And all we need to do is invoke remove. And now let's check to see what the front of the queue is again. And there you go. We have our queue, and initially the front of the queue was 100. We're about to remove it, and when we do, the front of the queue is 10. First in, first out. The basic premise of a queue.